Msgr Paul Tighe, Secretary for the Pontifical Council for Social Communication, thank you so much for being with us today. Could you tell us a bit about the work of the Pontifical Council for Social Communication?
Yeah, that's actually a task I had to take on myself when I was appointed to, was to try and understand what exactly we're supposed to be doing. I suppose the first thing to say what we're not. We're not the Vatican's press office, and we're not responsible for media relations. Neither are we the TV station, the radio station, or the newspaper. Our role works more globally. If you look across the world, there's an extraordinary network of Catholics active in media, be they running newspapers, TV stations, radio stations, and our job at some level is to coordinate their work, to support them, to help them, to advocate for them. In particular, I suppose a task we've taken on over the last number of years is to help Catholic media make the adjustment to the challenges and the opportunities that are being provided by new media. So we've done that by gathering people for various conferences, allowing them to meet us, allowing them to meet each other, and allowing them to make the types of networking or avail of networking opportunities that are going to be so important in the world of new media.
Msgr Tighe, what are your particular responsibilities at the Pontifical Council?
Yeah, generally in a Vatican curial department, the president or the prefect is more like responsible for the overall policy directions, and then the secretary's job is to make those happen, coordinating the day-to-day work of the office, and then also directing the various staff who work in that area, supporting them and helping them. So you're somewhere between the policy decision making and then the making of that happen in reality.
Msgr, could you tell us a bit about yourself? I know you're a priest from the Diocese of Dublin.
Yeah, I'm a priest from the Dublin Diocese. I studied civil law in Dublin first. I subsequently studied theology here in Rome, was ordained in 1983, went back to the years teaching in Dublin in a secondary school, came back here for postgraduate studies, and then went back to work in Ireland, where I worked primarily in the teaching of ethics and moral theology. Because of my background in law, I got involved then in public policy debates about the various ethical issues, be they family issues, life issues, immigration policy issues, and through that got involved in communications ministry. Then about 6-7 years ago, I was asked by Archbishop Dermot Martin to take over the communications office in Dublin. I found it professional to do that, but stayed on as an advisor, and then 3.5 years ago, I was asked to come and work at the council.
Coming up very soon here in St. Peter's Square, the Beatification of Pope John Paul II. Tell us about your memories of the great Pope.
My personal memories of the great Pope would be first time seeing him was when he came to Ireland in 1979. 1 million people gathered in a public park, Phoenix Park in Dublin. And that was an extraordinary event because despite the scale of the event, he really succeeded in communicating to people. Despite the fact that most people didn't get that close to them, everybody felt that it was a visit that was a very personal visit. Well, that was my first memory. I met him subsequently as a student here, and I remember it was the time my diaconate, my family were here, and because there was an Irish person working closely to the Pope, we got a very privileged audience with the Pope. So my younger sister, who was only about 7 or 8 at the time, met the Pope, and I remember the warmth of his greeting towards her. She was probably the youngest person in the group, and she has that memory for life. Then subsequently, on various times, I was impressed by this man who showed extraordinary leadership. Since I moved into the area of communications, I've also come to an appreciation of his spectacular capacity to communicate, both verbally and also just in the way. He had a sense of theatre that never left him. He had a sense of being able to, as they say, work a crowd. I saw in a little video recently of him, very old man, watching an event and then noticing that on the computer in front of him, he could see the image that was going on the big screen. And he's there watching this event, and he suddenly realizes that's the image they're all seeing at me. And suddenly he's there, and it's that spontaneity, that ability to make instant contact with crowds, that was something extraordinary about him. Yeah.
What do you feel was the greatest gift that Pope John Paul II gave to the Church and the human family?
I think he offered a vision of hope to the human family. I think he told people that no matter what situations you're facing, no matter what political context you're living in, that there is hope to be had in believing the message of Jesus Christ, in believing in the dignity of both yourself and of your brothers and sisters, and also in convincing people that the greatest happiness to be found in life is to be found in reaching out in service to other people. I think he took an intensely personal take on the gospel, and by offering that to people as a source of real hope for them, also was able to effect enormous political change by giving people that inner resource, that inner strength that allowed them then to be courageous in various situations. I think particularly obviously of the whole opening up of Eastern Europe, where it was his example gave people that hope, that strength, that brought around a change that was just phenomenal, and that was also, when we think about it, so predominantly non-violent, that he effected enormous change without having to resort to the violence that usually conventional wisdom would tell us is necessary.
Monsignor, this might be difficult to answer, but how many are expected for the beatification, and how important is good media coverage for an event such as this?
Yeah, what we have to, our primary thing is we anticipate, I can't say the overall numbers because it's very hard to predict how many people will come down from Poland, because they don't necessarily have to book in advance. They'll come on buses, they'll come by train, they'll make their own sleeping arrangements. So it's hard to know the overall numbers, but anything from around a million is to be anticipated. But we do know that there is a phenomenal level of media interest. At the Council and together with the press office of the Vatican, we've taken responsibility for the accreditation of the journalists who are coming. We've set up an online service. It's been in operation now for a week. We've had between 800 and 1,000 clear, not just expressions of interest, but people sending us their details, wanting to be here. So we are anticipating phenomenal media interest. We're also anticipating that in addition to the traditional, the big networks, the Catholic networks, we're also looking at making this a real event also online. So we'll have a live streaming of the ceremonies. We're also making some of those more interactive for younger people to allow them to use some of those materials and show those materials. So we're working with the traditional or established media. We're also trying to work with new media on this occasion. One of our initiatives has been to try and establish a Facebook presence to gather people onto a kind of a Vatican site connected to John Paul II, where we're making available video associated with the various years of his life. Again, video that young people can take and share with their friends. And we're trying to create a more social dimension in terms of social media around this event. One little initiative out of fidelity to the teaching of John Paul II was he called on young people at World Youth Day in 2000 to be custodians of the message of Christ. We're asking them to be digital custodians. We're asking young people who liked the figure of John Paul II, who remember him, to use the materials that have been used, both the video materials and the audio materials, and share that with their friends, so that also particularly maybe younger young people who maybe didn't know the figure have an opportunity to come to know John Paul II.
Both Pope John Paul II and Pope Benedict have encouraged the full use of media. The funeral of Pope John Paul II sticks in my memory. This beatification coming up. A moment such as this is a privileged moment, isn't it, for the use of media, for the whole global family?
Yeah, this is one of those key moments when, in a sense, the world is watching, the world is listening. This is a time when I've no doubt, I'm waiting with enthusiasm, I must say, to listen to Pope Benedict speak about a great friend of his, which is unique in history, that one pope would be beatifying his predecessor, somebody he knew, somebody he was very friendly with. So I really look forward to this being one of those sermons, one of those homilies that's going to come directly from the Pope himself and is going to be used as a way of speaking to such a large community of people who'd be gathered watching this on television, listening to it on radio, and hopefully also watching on their computers or on their apps as they get the different new media presentations that we're making of this event.
Monsignor, we have to thank you for the many innovations that come our way through your office. I think of the Vatican website, the Vatican YouTube channel, the new Facebook page for the beatification of Pope John Paul II. Anything new coming our way? Yeah,
there are two initiatives, I think. One, I think, of particular interest is that at the moment the Pontifical Council is working on developing a new portal or a new website that will integrate all the news being generated by the Vatican. At the moment that news is spread on different sites. So you have the press office site, you have the radio site, you have the newspaper site, and it's predominantly in Italian. we're going to develop a simple portal that will be giving the breaking news, the main news coming out of the Vatican, available eventually in 6 languages, available also in friendly forms for people who want to use it themselves in terms of social media. So everything in it will be shareable, everything in it will be embeddable, everything there will be stuff that people can take up, use the Facebook applications that are available, use the Twitter account that is associated with it, and share this good news that's been generated here. So it's an effort to make our media outreach more general, friendlier to people in terms of the languages that are available, and also hopefully more multimedia, not just the text, but also the images, the sound of the great events. It's coming. We had hoped to have it, best case scenario, we would have had it for Easter. I think it's going to be mid-May, but it's coming. It's coming initially in English and in Italian, and then in all the languages. And that, I think, is going to be probably our big initiative. The other thing is we're very interested at the Pontifical Council in new media and how new media works, and on how community forms in new media. We've decided to take advantage of the fact that there will be so many people here on the 1st of May for the Beatification that on the afternoon of the 2nd of May we're inviting bloggers who may be here to come to an informal meeting involving some of the people from the Council for Culture and some of the people from the Council for Social Communications. Our aim is to have it as a first meeting between people who are at the forefront in the development of the more informal type of media that we call the blogosphere, and people maybe like ourselves who are more used to dealing with traditional media. The hope is to allow for simply an exchange of views. We want to listen to the bloggers. We want to hear what they find helpful in trying to cover religion and trying to cover the church. We also want to hear their criticism, see what we could do better in order to meet their needs. Then we want to present to them some initiatives like the new news portal, in order to get their feedback, have their suggestions, so that we can kind of see our relationship with with Catholic blogosphere as a partnership, as a place where we both can help and contribute to each other. And this is an initial meeting, rather informal, to allow for exchange of views and to see how we can take that dialogue forward.
Monsignor, I have to thank you for your time, to you, to Archbishop Tighe, and all of your colleagues at the Pontifical Council for Social Communication. We really appreciate the innovative work that you are doing for the Church.
If it's not inappropriate, Bob, I'd like also to thank CatholicTV. It's a great example for us when we want to point people towards what's good in the world of Catholic television. There are many excellent examples out there, but yours has a certain liveliness, a certain production qualities that we like, and we're very, very impressed by the work we're doing. We wish you and your viewers every success and every blessing.